Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. I hope you guys are well. Happy Tuesday. Getting consistent with this week, I hope. Today is our Tuesday live Q&A with CSS critiques. And but while you guys congregate, I'm going to chat a little bit about my new project. This is an ongoing project. This is the book. There's an ebook option as well as an audiobook option that is now available. You can find those on Amazon. This one's on my site. You can find the book also on Amazon too. And I'm creating a course around it. So it'd be I don't think I'll go 10 parts, and it's not going to be the audiobook. It's going to be a little bit more in depth about basically how I coach all of this. And I coach this every day a little more subtly um, than overtly. And it you slowly build mental toughness by being consistent. That is the basis of this program. And in fact, here's the 10 chapters. The first chapter is how the body and brain work together. There's a little action plan introduction that says if you are in a slump, do this. If you are procrastinating, do this, right? So there's some things you can do immediately to get yourself out of these very common uh, mindsets and just body energy that slow us down. So, chapter one is how the brain body work together. Very interesting. I'm not a physiologist or a psychologist, but there's some very basic understanding in how that works. And just knowing that's going to make you a little smarter in how things actually work and why you're maybe thinking a certain way. A lot of it is our survival instincts. But if you don't know that, you may think you're crazy, right? So, next one is survive or die, living a hard life. A lot of us grow up, you know, facing a lot of different challenges, some more than others. These can be a building block to an incredible amount of resilience and future ability. It can also be a crutch and how to use that to your advantage. Um, Getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Chapter 3. Chapter 4 is finding the fuel when the tank is empty. What does that mean? What do both of those mean? You can't be in your comfort zone and get stronger. You have to move outside that comfort zone. So that's what that means. Finding the fuel when the tank is empty. Sometimes that's just carbs. Sometimes that is your will when it is being tested. You have nothing else that you can possibly do, but you find the fuel anyway and keep going. Failing is a learning experience, not the end. That is a mindset shift. Chapter 5, probably one of the most important ones in here because we all are human and we all fail. We all make mistakes and you need to learn from them. Don't let them cut you down. Setting lofty long-term goals, multi-year, every decade, have a goal. That's really what that chapter is all about and why that is important. How do you know you are ready? That's probably one of my number one questions I get out there is, do you think I'm ready to go to whatever? Um, this is all about focusing on your weaknesses, assessing yourself so you know you have weaknesses, maintain your strengths, and build some confidence along the way. Chapter 8, stress mitigation. The better you get at recovery and understanding what stress is, mentally and physically, emotionally, and the tools that we already have at our disposal that most people just don't realize, the better you're going to be at handling life stresses, and that alone will make you more resilient. Chapter 9 is very important, managing doubt. There's a great saying called "Don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself." Um, very important to do that. Understanding what doubt is and why it is there. It's in all of us. Like, you're not going to get rid of doubt. How you handle doubt is what makes you move forward. And last chapter is building habits through consistency and discipline. That's what it's all about. You know? Yeah. So anyway, this is like 25 years of coaching, all wrapped up into 10 chapters of how I, work with people in more than just push-ups and running and swimming. It goes into another layer of training that a lot of them don't even realize I'm doing until they realize that they are now tougher and they are stronger, and um, the ability to handle stressful situations. And it has come through merely by practicing those good habits consistently, and seeing yourself accomplish things and building confidence. And it is a just steady progress. It takes a while to do, but there's a path for it. And that's really what the never quit mindset's all about. So I won't beat you up anymore. I'm just excited about it. If you guys have some questions, we can get into some questions here. Looks like there's a few. I'll start over here on Instagram since that one I saw popped up first. How would you increase pull-ups? I'm at 10, but need to get 20 in 3 months. Well, that's doable. If you're at 10, that's good. It's no longer a strength issue. Yeah, you can still work your strength and maintain it, but it is now a muscle stamina issue. I always say that your first 1 or 2 reps of a pull up is a strength exercise. Your 20th is an endurance exercise. So my advice is build up volume. And I have a great system that I would recommend. Obviously, it's not just pull-ups that you need to get good at. I would imagine there's other exercises as well as running, maybe swimming. Check out this 1 month PST challenge. And since you only have 3 months, do this for a month and let's see what happens. Okay. You're going to do 3 upper body days a week, and you'll see them in this article. I'll put it over here on YouTube as well. So anyway, it's called 1 month PT challenge, kill the PST in 4 weeks. Check it out and let that be your answer. Probably that third workout is going, the third upper body workout is going to be what puts you over the edge and, get you 15, get you 20 pretty quickly. But you only do these 3 times a week, and you'll see it in that article. Thoughts and opinions on the new Warfare movie. I think it's a great idea. I haven't seen it yet, so it's something I need to do. I just got into NAPS, Naval Academy Prep School. Hey, man, congrats. I tell you, I wish I had gone to NAPS before going to the academy. I needed to, and I didn't even know it. And, yeah, I wish I had gone, because I got my butt handed to me for about a year and a half. And then I had to play catch up for the next year and a half, and then I finally figured it out, late junior, senior year. But it was brutal. So, yeah, get what you can done at NAPS and come in a little bit smarter and stronger. Yeah, I'll talk about it. Maybe next week. I'll do something this weekend and try to watch it. All right, looks like we have some good questions over here on YouTube. If you had 6 months to go before going into the Army for an 18 X-ray contract, how would you increase your ruck? Also, would you peak your running program? Do you include basic training within the training cycle, or do you finish the run cycle before basic? Well, here's the deal. The beauty about the Army is you're going to run some, But if you go in prepped for spec ops jobs, right? You're going to 18 X-ray, SFAS, those are your goals. You're still going to be 6 months out before you even get there. Like the day you start and the day you get to SFAS, probably going to be 6 months within the Army before you're there. So my advice is this: go hardcore, peak before you go, and use your boot camp as a taper. You're going to be doing well at boot camp. You're going to crush it. You can increase your ruck, throughout this process. My advice is, once, maybe twice a week, do a ruck, one long one, one shorter, faster one, running, on the other days, maybe rest 1 or 2 days a week from any impact just to recover from that. I like to do mobility days. Some people like to do yoga or biking or spin classes, something that still gets your cardio going and, um, without the impact, I think. Let you recover from some of the load bearing you're used to. But, 10% increase in your distance each week, 10 to 15% is very logical. So whatever you're running now, 10 to 15% every week until you leave. And that can apply to running total mileage as well as rucking total mileage. And yes, I count both of those together. You either have it or you don't. You need to have it, that fire in the gut. Well, Joe, I will agree and disagree with you. Never quit mindset, mental toughness. Believe it or not, we are all born with a certain level of toughness that we never see unless it is a life or death situation and we are in a need for survival. It naturally will come out. Um, Now, will there be people that shut it down and like don't go there and just die? Yes, that would happen too. But we have a natural instinct to survive any type of situation. In fact, our reptilian part of the brain, if you've ever heard of the 4 F's, feed or fuel, food, basically, fight, flight, and reproduction, right? So those are the 4 F's that our brain stem is responsible for. And we will do anything in our um, ability to make sure we get those things and protect our offspring and things like that. So, yes, we have a level of it, but can it be developed? Absolutely. Yes, it can be developed. Do you recommend full astergrass squats or just breaking parallel 90? I tend to go as far as I can go. Um, so yes, I can go really deeper if I'm doing like a, third world squat type thing. I don't go that deep when I'm doing squats, but I will go below 90. And, usually my hamstrings hit my calves um, when I'm in the down position, if that makes any sense. How have you dealt with ankle pain in the past? Ankle popped with swimming with fins, didn't swell up or bruise, but has been hurting. Scared to run on it, but know I need to get running and rucking it. Um, well, ankle mobility is key if you're swimming with fins. Ankle, if it popped, that may not be a bad thing. I mean, if it popped out of socket, that would be a bad thing. But if you just heard a pop, that's just, the joint itself working its mobility issues out. especially, you put on a big pair of fins, you're putting a lot of torque on your ankles. That's why I say it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks before you've built up enough ankle mobility to where finning no longer hurts. So you just got to give it time. And usually we will swim with fins 2 to 3 days a week. Usually on a leg day or a cardio only day, we will swim with fins. So this week we're swimming with fins twice a week. And we do have the Annapolis Frogmen swim coming up on Sunday, where it's a 3-mile swim with fins. Should be fun. But you got to get used to it. My advice is work on ankle mobility drills. You can Google ankle mobility exercises, ankle strengthening exercises, and those will be very helpful for you. Morning, sir. How much swimming would you do per week leading up to SOAS? For practicing with fins for selection, what stroke do you recommend? Currently just swimming on my back without using hands. Yeah, you need to learn the CSS with fins if you're going to do it fast, because you will have a 1-mile ocean swim, or depending on the pollution levels, you may be in a pool doing it. So you need to practice both if you can. If you can't, just do it in a pool and get fast. And when I say fast, about a yard per second is a pretty good pace with those big rocket fins. That'll get you like a 16-minute 1,000, 32-minute 2,000, which is what you'll be tested in. Yeah, give it a shot. How much swimming per week? We swim with fins on leg days. On days we don't have legs, which is the other 2 or 3, we are doing conditioning, freestyle CSS swims, and one of those days is nothing but pool skills. So we'll tread water, we'll drown proof, we'll swim some laps, just kind of loosen up. But it is all pool skill stuff. Treading with your camis on, take them off and on, things like that. Pool skills. Morning, sir. What would you recommend for improving soft sand rucking running going to SOAS in the summer? Well, I would get a ruck and find a beach to go rucking. If you do not have a beach, then I would check out this article I wrote about weight vest and stair steppers. So weight vest, stair stepper. For those looking to join Spec Ops, weighted stair steppers are a useful tool. So here's the article. It's a military.com article. Check it out. Recommend it. It's really good. And we've been doing this for years, long before there was a SOAS, and highly recommend checking out that if you don't have soft sand. A 23-year-old with a degree, is it a bad idea to go enlisted? Is the enlisted job versus officer job truly different within the SOF community? Yes. I mean, all the training to get up to those jobs is very similar. You'll be going through the same stuff. Jake Zwig and Jeff Nichols contradict each other. Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle of those two. I know Jake's like, go officer if you have a college degree. Don't be stupid. And Jeff is like, don't be stupid. Enlist if you want to be a warrior. I get both of where they're coming from. I happen to be somewhere in the middle. It is a different job if you want to lead, and that's what you're going to be doing. And it's not an easier job. It is quite difficult. Now, you will not be able to do some of the cool things like going to sniper school, JTAC school, but you need to have an understanding of what they do and how to employ them. So it's just different. I like the route I chose in hindsight. I mean, my backup plan was to enlist if I didn't graduate from the Naval Academy for some reason, or if I didn't get into the Naval Academy, I was going to enlist. I probably would have worked to get to the Naval Academy first and then go officer. That was my backup plan. Um, but you do you is the thing. Um, it really comes down to you. We have several people here who work out with us, and we have probably most of them are enlisting, and I'd say probably 30%, maybe 30-40% are going officer. And they realize the difference. I look at my officer candidates a little bit differently, and I work with them to have some form of leadership challenges throughout training because that's what's going to happen. And it's a different process and it's a different job, but it is very similar in many ways. I know many people who are officers who had plenty of combat deployments and so many that they didn't do a full 20 years and got out. In fact, I just did a podcast with one, and he and another friend wrote a book called Warrior to Civilian. And this guy, I think he said he had 7 deployments, before he has 10 years in. Now, this was middle 2000s, 2010 to 2017. So he did a lot, you know, and got burned out. Be quite honest with you. So yeah, it's a tough question to answer. I realize it. My advice is this. I usually give people this advice. If you have a degree and you have time to prepare, right? Which I highly recommend people giving themselves time to truly prepare. Go through the officer process. And if you get in, great. If you don't, enlist. You now at least have some experience with what it takes to become an officer. You'll meet many of them going through SOAS if you get selected as SOAS. And let's say you don't get selected after SOAS, you'll get a good taste of what Buds is like. Um, and then if you don't like it, I mean, I've seen people get selected for SOAS and change their mind and go enlisted. That happens too. So I don't think there's one way or the other that is better. I think it depends on the person. And if you want to be a leader of people, then by all means go officer because you will be in charge. All right. How do I figure out my deficit for my cut? Hmm. 5'7", 220, doing 2-a-days for EOD. I'm starving after my workouts. Also, do you have programs for Air Force EOD prep? No, I don't. I mean, I have Army CFT and, basic training programs as well as, SF pipeline stuff. But I don't have any EOD prep process programs. As far as your deficit is concerned, at 220, you can do a couple of things. Look up the term. In fact, I'll type it in here for you. TEDE. It's called total energy daily expenditure. So take 220 multiplied by 15. That's going to give you a total energy daily expenditure. So let's do that. Let me see where my phone is. So 220 times 15 gives you, boom, 220 times 15 gives you 3,300 calories. However, if you want to lose some weight, minus 500 calories. So now you're going to be at 2,800 calories. Now, this is obviously a ballpark figure. Um, but if you're working out 2-a-days, you could probably get away with a little more calories, but I wouldn't go too much more if you're trying to lose weight. You know, at 5'7", 220, you definitely need to lose weight and probably get under 200 pounds. Just to meet the height weight standards and things like that. But as long as your body fat standards is low, that is an option as well. But from there, you can figure out, you know, your percentage of proteins. Usually I'll do 40% protein, 35% carbs, 25% fat. You know, figure that out within the 2,800 calories a day. See what happens. But I would definitely time, if you're feeling like crappy during workouts, time your carbs to be pre-workout consumed. Someone just said, not sure if you answered, but how much swimming and running should I be doing leading up to SOAS? Yeah, I don't think I did answer that one. Sorry about that. Well, look, you're going to have a 1.5 mile timed run to pass, right? You're going to take your PST. There will be a 9-mile ruck. There'll be a 4 or 5 mile timed run. So those need to be good. I mean, my advice would be try to hit that 6-minute mile pace for your timed run for the 1.5 mile, 7-minute mile pace for your 5-mile timed run, 4 or 5 mile timed run, and then work on your pace on that 9-mile ruck to be probably around sub 12-minute miles, closer to 10 if you can. But that requires some running, right? I would at least do 25 miles a week and, you know, swimming 10,000 a week. That's pretty much what we do. And remember, 4 or 5 of those 1,000 yards of swimming each week are with fins in 2 different swim workouts. And then all the other swims, usually we swim about 2,000 meters a day. You know, it doesn't take very long to do that. And then we'll spend some time treading and doing all the pool skills you need to do. So if you're asking how many days a week, I would say 5-6 days a week of running, 5 to 6 days a week of swimming. Roughly 2,000 yards of swimming each day. And I'd probably keep the running probably around 30, 40 miles a week, maybe at the most. But you probably, my advice is just keep it kind of low because you're not going to run that much out there for a week, and just work on your speed because everything's tested, right? You're not doing any long, slow distance stuff. So work on your speed. Keep it under 30. Cool of you to do these live, Stu. Thanks for all you do. Oh, you're welcome. Glad to do it. Let me see. Do you have a nutrition guide? No, I do not, but ask a nutritionist and I bet they can help you. In fact, there's a great podcast I did twice, maybe 3 times with Nick Barringer. If you look on my podcast, Tactical Fitness Report, you know, we talk about everything from nutrition for joint health as well as for selection as well as fitness tests. You know, he's an Army Ranger, or went to Ranger school, and he's a nutritionist in the Army, just retired, Lieutenant Colonel, I think. But yeah, check it out. He's the man to check out. Nick Barringer, you'll see I follow him. Barringer. In fact, I'll tag him in this if I can find it. Nick. Hope that's it. Let me see. I did a little search here real quick. Nick Barringer. Here he is. Here, I'll put his thing in here. Talk to him. He's all about it. Put that in there for you. Good guy. Highly recommend his stuff. And listen to our podcast. He really gets into some good teaching on nutritious meals. Hey, Stu, I can't seem to find the recommended amount of push-ups, sit-ups per 30 seconds. I think you should make sure they average 100 in 2 minutes. Dude, you do the math, right? If you want to do sit-ups, if you want to do 100 in 2 minutes, you got to do 25 in 30 seconds. But that's with sit-ups. With push-ups, it's a little different because you can go a lot faster. In fact, I always say gravity slowly takes your reps away, so don't be too pacing in that. Usually I try to get like 75, sometimes 80 in the first minute, and then have to kind of rest in the up position for a little bit, do little sets of 5 until I get 100. That's how I do push-ups. But for sit-ups, you want to pace it. Steady pace. Let's see here. What we got? All right. Hey, let's show some CSS videos, eh? So I'm going to pull up some swims, and I'm just going to go right through all these swims, and then I'll take more questions on the back end. But here we go. We got somebody kicking off the wall. And let me see if I can. There we go. Boom. Oh, yeah. Look at that. All right. Just right from the start, I'm just going to say stop. Stop doing this. Like, watch this flutter kicking. This tires me watching it. Like, you don't want to do that. I mean, that is motorboating through a 500. When you kick off the wall, keep your feet still. Believe it or not, it's like slowing you down, right? So keep your feet still and be streamlined like a torpedo and silent. No flutter kicking. But way too many flutter kicks. Double arm pull, like your classic example why you need to take out the double arm pull. Just watch this broaching. See all that right there? I mean, all of this, your head sticking out, your shoulders about to come out of the water, you're still flutter kicking. It's just swimming with the brakes on. It just makes it harder. And that's an awkward transition. So my advice for you is take out the flutter kicks, 1, the breaststroke pull out, 2. Everything else, believe it or not, looks really good. I like the top arm, turn, breathe with the bottom arm, kick and glide, but those little flutter kicks, once again, just making me tired. And you can see it's not, that's a way too long on a turnaround. Take those flutter kicks out. You're killing me. I mean, top arm turn, bottom arm breathe, kick and glides. Okay, I think you could have a better recovery. You look like you're kind of sweeping the water a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, you could be a little tighter with those arms closer to your body. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, especially that bottom arm. That bottom arm just kind of plows forward, like it doesn't streamline, go up. Anyway, it's a long swim. So, and all those flutter kicks, completely unsustainable. Like you will never maintain a 500 pace with all those. Let's see what we got here. We got a good kickoff. Let's see, kick off the wall. I like it. See how his feet still till he kind of moves an arm and then his feet move. Kick and glide. So top arm turn, bottom arm breathe, kick and glide. I like to have my face out of the water when that top arm turns. This is a little, little awkward with that face being in the water as that top arm turns, but that's just me. That's one of my preferences. This is good. See how he kicks off the wall and didn't kick, no flutter kicks, top arm, bottom arm. And he didn't do that breaststroke pullout, which, he actually got an extra breath out of this. So he does like 7 strokes to get across the pool. This isn't bad. I think it's just a little slow. I think his top arm could be a little better. Maybe his kick could be a little harder and hold that glide a little tighter. But overall, this is pretty good. I think that's like a 53 second. That's like a 9-minute swim, and the other guys was like a 10:30 swim. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right. Kick off the wall, double arm pull. A little awkward. Not a fan of that one. I think he's a good candidate to take it out too. So top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. Let's see. How long is he holding the glide? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Pull. It's close. But that's what it is. Yeah, see that double arm pull? Watch how quick. If you're going to do the double arm pull, give yourself another body length and a half at least before you pull. I mean, he's kicking off the wall and immediately double arm pulling. And then you come up and you're not even near that yellow marker. If he'd have just kicked off the wall, held the glide, come up for his first breath, he could be coming up right about here, right? Which is right there at that yellow marker. I try to make this as like you kick off the wall, come up for your first breath right here at this yellow marker. That's a good kick off the wall. Otherwise, he's done, a couple strokes already by it instead of just one. But overall, this looks pretty good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. A little bit fast on that one. Pull. It's like 48-second 50. So, I think you take out these double arm pulls. I think it's going to be easier for you. Plus, you get 2 breaths per lap extra. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm just going to show, I think this is, last one here. And, sorry, sharing my screen again. All right, you guys see this? Here we go. Kick off the wall, double arm pull. Oh, no double arm pull. Good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Okay, I like this. Little extra flutter kicks there. Not, probably can work on. Sometimes it's a flutter kick that's really tiring. Sometimes it's just somebody moving their legs when their arms move. Very common if you're a freestyler. So top arm, bottom arm, breathe, kick and glide. Let's see. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's like a flutter kick. It's moving his legs a little too much, but it's not a tiring motorboating of a flutter kick like that first guy. All right, so there we go. Let me quit sharing screens. All right, I think that's all I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that was it. So let's see what kind of questions you have of here. Just got what I believe to be medial tibial stress syndrome by upping running volume a bit too soon. How should I go forward? My advice is this: probably lay off running, replace all your running. Every mile of running that you do, replace it with 10 minutes of more swimming or biking. Period. So it's all non-impact cardio. You're still getting cardio. You're just not worrying about the impact of that cardio. Keep stretching, keep massaging, and keep building. Do some heel walk, toe walks, for the shin splint pain. If it's a shin splint pain, if it's like stress fractures, then that's a different story, and you need to lay off running altogether for a little while. Doesn't have to be that long, but still keep getting your cardio in, still do your leg days, still do your upper body days. Nothing really changes. You're just not getting impact. And then when you start again, don't start off where you left off, obviously. Cut all of that down to like 25% of what you were doing and make sure you have good pair of shoes and you're going to run mostly on softer ground. So avoid concrete, avoid asphalt, try to find some dirt, some gravel, trails, track, rubberized track, turf on the inside of the track. Like today, we ran almost 6 miles on a track, lots of intervals and, you know, Tabatas. It was really fun, believe it or not. Didn't feel like you're running 6 miles on a track. Actually, we ran a mile to the track, did 4 on the track, ran a mile back. But most of us, ran on the turf when we were doing our running versus even the rubberized track, which made it feel a whole lot softer. And if you're nursing anything, and a couple of our guys are, um, hit the softer ground. Will overhead tricep extension and pullovers help with overhead mobility for swimming streamline? Yeah. I mean, anything that's going to get you up over your head and biceps behind your ears. I can't do it with my headphones on. If you can do this, right? Put your biceps on the side of your head and squeeze. That is what you're trying for. And you want it so where it's a natural feeling thing. Like a lot of people, do, glide like this, right? Which just keeps them turning right the whole time or left, depending on what side they're on, versus having some straight posture streamline in the water. That's the fastest. But if you're swimming like a banana, it's not so much. So work on that shoulder mobility, yes. Hanging from a pull-up bar, that's good. Overhead holds. Mix it up. But tricep extensions, yes. You guys loosen the lats, loosen the triceps. That'll help you with getting into that position a little bit better. Thoughts on barefoot running on grass mostly? I like running on turf or grass barefoot. I mean, in fact, we do it. We have this big field where we just run barefoot, or I'll wear like these shoes here, my zero drop shoes, right? These are my running on soft sand and grass and turf shoes. But if I'm running on concrete, I'm going to run with regular shoes. Just the way it is. I'm a 210, 215 pound runner. I can feel my teeth chatter when I run in these shoes on concrete. So try to avoid that. Yeah, you want to try not to swim like a banana. Yeah, active hangs are really good. All right. So any other questions here? Looks like I hit them all. If you guys got a question, send it. I only got a few more minutes. Yeah. More miles, and that's low impact. Yeah. If you can get more low impact miles, I think that's a very logical thing. Don't forget, never quit mindset. New program out. And if you're trying to figure out a plan to prepare for SOAS or buds itself, this is a classic one. This is actual get through selection with prep for specific events. You're going to have 4-mile runs and 2-mile swims and treading and drown proofing and just all types of stuff in there, right? So I think where I see a lot of people screw up is they just train for the PST and that's it. And while that gets you to SEAL training, it definitely does not prepare you well enough to get through it which means you got to run more. You got to maybe lift a little more over your head. Got to have a strong foundation of strength so you can handle load bearing activities, whether that's a fireman carry run with somebody or it's a um, log or a boat or a backpack. All of those things require a foundation of strength so you don't get crushed under that weight. And if you're an endurance guy or just did PST prep, you're going to feel that. And that's what we're trying to avoid, because in those first 4 weeks, there's a lot of load bearing. The beauty of buds is that after that hell week, which obviously is the hardest week there is there, there's no more logs and boats. I mean, you will have some load bearing when you're carrying scuba tanks on your back and you're carrying rucks in third phase, but nothing compares to those logs and boats when you're really under them for quite some time. And you just have to have that foundation of strength for it. So don't blow it off. Don't just do PST prep. Let's see. I tried the 2-week push-up routine to increase. Then on the rest period, I might not have increased my push-ups, but I am significantly stronger since I can do them faster. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I've seen a lot of people do well with that. Some people don't. My advice is I sent an article out there about 1 month PST challenge. If you're really trying to get better at pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, swimming, and running, check this out, because it's a really good one. It's a free week of training that I put in this article. In fact, you will find something similar in my Navy SEAL Phase 1 book. I would say if you're looking at buying the, not Navy SEAL, Navy PST Phase 1 book, this is a sample page out of it. And it's very useful. In fact, I give it away as it's one of my favorite weeks of training. If you do it for a month, you'll see a big difference because it's smart. It has running and swimming in it regularly, kind of progressively. It has upper body days, 3 days spread throughout the week, not back to back. There's no weights in it. You don't need to add any weights this week. Just focus on your PST if you really want to crush a PST in a month, right? And then get on your weights and work on some durability, or vice versa. Do your weights first, then do this. It's up to you. My advice is this: if you wonder which one to do first, which ones are you weakest at the most? Is it your muscle stamina endurance? Then do that 1 week training. Is it your strength? Then maybe go through a lift cycle. Maintain your endurance and muscle stamina while you're going through a lift cycle. When I do ab workouts, my lower back gets used a lot and it feels a little stiff. I've tried every method, considering going to physical therapy. Any advice? My advice is strengthen your lower back. That's the only other thing I could think of, unless you're doing these exercises so wrong that your back's getting tweaked. Could be that. I don't know. But my advice would be to, make sure you're doing plank poses. Make sure you're doing, RDLs and, some hinges, kettlebell swings, things like that, that will work your lower back and help you balance out all that ab workout. Because you got to think of the core as a system, not a set of abs that you're working, right? Every muscle that goes along your hips and spine is considered your core, right? So you need to work front, back, sides of that core to build a strong system. So when you do abs, it doesn't hurt your lower back. Can't blow off lower back activities. I've been doing 5x5 bench press cycle to get stronger. I have a PST in 4 to 6 weeks. Want to do a 2-week push up to hit 80 plus. Good idea, or should I do push ups every other day? Um, yeah, try the first 2 weeks and then do push-ups every other day. Right? You don't want to do daily push-ups for too long, and take out the bench whenever you're done with the bench cycle. You want to make this PST prep really focused on the PST, right? So my advice would be this: do that, do your normal workouts, try the daily push-ups in there if you want to, or you can do that workout I just posted and give that a shot and see where you are in 4 weeks. You may not need to do the daily push-ups. It may work for you. Any recommendations to go for shoulder stability work? Have you ever seen my lightweight shoulder workout? It's a really good one. You should check it out. In fact, if you do a Google search, lightweight shoulder circuit, Stu Smith, you'll see this article that walks you through a 6-7 exercise shoulder circuit with very lightweight dumbbells, like 5-7 pound dumbbells. I'll put it over here for you. It's in most of my programs, but it's a great one. I do it every upper body day, and it's really good. I've worn barefoot shoes for about 4 years now. Any potential issues with boots at Buds? I don't think so. I know a lot of guys that go barefoot to boots and do fine. I know a lot of guys that go from shoes to boots and do fine. So, hey, I don't think it matters. Looking at Coast Guard ME and then DSF. Do you have any drown proofing material? Yes. In fact, I just sent an article out there that this workout here, we do every mobility day. Damn it, drown proof. So every mobility day, we do a pool skills drill, and this is what we do. In fact, it's in all these programs as well. Mobility day, middle of the week, we do all pool skills and drown proofing. This is the workout we do in here. It's a really good one. Been in Navy 5 years. They finally just opened up my fiscal year group to cross rate. Nice. Yeah, that's the problem with going in the Navy and thinking you can just lateral transfer easily. There's a lot of things that are out of your control that you have to deal with. One of them is your year group is full. The other one is your rating is undermanned and they're not letting you go. So good luck submitting that package. Doing a 25-meter underwater. I can get a little bit after halfway before coming up. What can I do to get to the end? My advice is watch some of my underwater swim videos and you will see how to do it. I think a lot of people just constantly are pulling and flutter kicking to get across the pool and they wonder why they're winded halfway across the pool. The goal is to glide across the pool. In fact, if you kick off the wall and get across the pool, or not, doesn't matter, it might add a stroke. If you kick off the wall, glide, double arm pull, I bet you if you get good at that double arm pull, you will be able to get 25 yards in 3 to 4 strokes. That's what I do it in. And it's just gliding. So that's the key. And I got videos of it too. So Google underwater swim Stu Smith and you'll see it. What's cracking, big bro? Oh, not much. um, go to the dark place. There's some advice for underwater swimming. Yes. CO2 O2 tables. You know what? I've never used them. I'm not the guy to ask about that one. I just try to swim efficiently so I don't need to worry about CO2 and O2 tables because it is really like holding your breath and walking for 25, 50 meters if you learn how to do it efficiently, right? If you're just under there stroking and kicking, yeah, you might need some CO2 tables. Yeah. Guys over at Modern Athlete Strength, I'm going to be on their podcast soon. Thank you. All right. Let's see. A few more questions. Okay. Hey, Stu, is discipline something I can 100% in control of or something that God can give? Um, I don't know, be honest with you. I think it is something we definitely can control, but it requires a level of how bad do you want it to actually do it. I You can't really call getting up early in the morning and going to school discipline if you have to be at school or you're going to be in trouble, right? But if you wake up earlier and you go work out for an hour, then go to school, I would call that discipline, especially if you're trying to make a sports team or you have a goal that you need this hour of training under your belt. So that discipline has to come with what you're really wanting to do. That's why there's 10 chapters in this book and discipline's on the very last one, right? Because you have to go through a process of building good habits that through consistency, now you have built a habit, and there's going to be a day when you're not motivated to go do something and you go do it anyway. Congratulations, you just built your first dose of discipline because you're doing something even when you don't feel like it. That's big, right? And you build up that year after year. Next thing you're not even having negative thoughts in the morning, and or you're beating the negative thoughts because you stood up when that alarm went off versus hitting snooze over and over again, right? So yeah, you can definitely develop it, but it takes action, and it takes time through consistent action. Doing the crush, the PST in 1 month workout, doing the workout after work every day. Should I add another workout of any type in the morning, or is this enough for a daily routine? I think it's enough for a daily routine. I mean, my advice would be to, if it's a lot to juggle in the work after, the time after work, maybe do the run and the calisthenics in the morning, do the swim in the afternoon, or vice versa. Get your swim done in the morning, do the dry land stuff after work. It's up to you. That's what we do. Let's see. I can squat 365, deadlift 315, bench 200. Am I good? Place to start endurance calisthenics. Yeah, I'd say that's strong. You know, I'd say that's not world class strong, but that is strong enough. You know, I mean, yeah, I, I think that you have, with those scores, it shows me you've been in the weight room a little while, right? You didn't just walk in the weight room and throw around this weight. You built up to this weight. So that's kind of what you need. You need a little history of strength training to help you with durability. And then that durability can start helping you get faster, get stronger, get more endurance, and get more muscle stamina. It'll protect your joints from loads and reps. So, yes, I think you're good to go. Do you recommend any programs for people with flat feet? I don't know enough about flat feet to recommend programs. I would go to a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy online, maybe even go to YouTube and Google flat feet training. I've seen people, do stuff with their toes and towels that built an arch. So I would definitely look into those. But I don't have any specific program for that. That's kind of in the world of physical therapy training, and I would outsource that one. Yeah, if you get shin splints, that's probably why. All right, let's see. A couple more questions and I got to bail. Been at this for an hour. Right now, I am currently training weekly with 2 swim sessions, 3 runs, 3 weight session, calisthenics daily, daily stretching. Is there anything I am missing or should change? Well, I mean, if you're doing upper body calisthenics every day, then yes, you should. Um, I mean, you can do calisthenics every day, but be smart about it. If you're doing weights, make sure those muscle groups are matching up on the days you're doing them. I personally think 2 swim sessions is not enough. 3 run sessions is not enough. But it also depends on where your strengths and weaknesses are. If you're a great swimmer and runner, that may be enough because you need to get in the weight room and build some muscle mass and durability. So I don't have an answer for you if it's right for you. You should probably email me exactly what you're doing, because where I see people screw up with programs like this is they're doing pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups 5 days a week thinking that, oh, this is a good idea, and it's not. And then they're topping weights on top of it. So now they're doing a couple of two-a-days with high volume calisthenics and some weights. And next thing you know, they're doing 5 days in a row of upper body, sometimes twice a week. So, maybe some leg calisthenics in there, I hope. I would split it up to upper body, lower body days if you're going to do it this way, and um, add another swim, add another run. But it depends what you're on. If you're trying to gain weight, you're probably doing the right thing, as long as you're eating. But I can't answer that perfectly unless I know exactly what's going on: height, weight, athletic history, what those splits look like, because, what are your goals? You're just trying to get ripped. That might work. But if you're trying to prep for a spec ops selection and your training's not looking like anything in the spec ops world, then you might be on the wrong track. Should I use Nike Gen 2 combat boots for only rucking and some running, or should I try to use them with workouts as well? Well, let me tell you, back in my day, you wanted to limit your amount of running in boots because our boots sucked. They were Vietnam vet boots and jungle boots that weighed 1.5 pounds each and were just brutal on your feet. So you had to build up to just using them. These Nike Combat Gen 2 things are like air boots, and they're awesome. They're a little restrictive in mobility, but that's what boots are for, just to add some durability to your ankles. But other than that, they're like running shoes almost. So you don't necessarily have to limit them that much. Um, I would, but I would, I'd say 50% of your time you can run in running shoes, 50% run in boots. Throw a ruck in there with boots. Get on soft sand in boots. Run some pants. Jump in the water. Get your pants wet. Get your boots wet. Do some flutter kicks. That's probably going to be better training for you than worrying about how much you wear boots for. Discipline is more about doing the things you don't want to do than just doing something hard occasionally. Yeah, Modern Athlete Strength. You guys check out that page over there, Modern Athlete Strength, over on Instagram. He's got some good stuff over there. Let's see. I DM'd you a live about an hour away from you. Oh, I live about an hour away from you. I'll try to come by in the morning workouts. Yeah, come join us. All right, guys, I got to go. I appreciate your time. I'll be back next week, and you guys check out stewsmithfitness.com. Plenty of programs over there, tons of articles. I write 3 articles a week usually, and usually they come from questions like this. So I do appreciate these questions. They give me ideas to expand upon them. And I'm serious when I say go to Google. You got a question you want to ask me, ask Google. So I've probably written about it already. Then if it doesn't specifically address what your issues are, send it in and email me, DM me, whatever you want. Happy to help you with trying to figure out a solution to whatever your problem is. All right, guys. I guess that's it for me. You guys go check out live or stewsmithfitness.com. Use live15, sticking around this long. Save yourself 15% over there on any book and ebook program. So I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.